यथा विनियतं चित्तम आत्मन्येवावतिष्ठते निस्पृहः सर्वकामेभ्यो yukta ityuchyate tata. When one has restrained the thought patterns and is free from the longing for all desires and remains absorbed in oneself, then he is experiencing the higher consciousness. I tell you, every human being has to spend little time in experiencing higher consciousness, especially before entering into the life, before 21. Even incarnations. See the life of Parasurama. See the life of Sri Krishna. See the life of Rama. Rama goes to Vasishta and learns Yoga Vasishtam. Parasurama goes to Dattatreya and learns the science of enlightenment. Krishna goes to Shantipa, learns the science of enlightenment. We have an unfortunate misunderstanding and fear. If our kids go to Gurukul and learn the science of enlightenment, they may just become sannyasis, move out of life. No. Krishna did not move out of life. Rama did not move out of life. Parasurama did not move out of life. Parasurama was killing people left and right. Rama was ruling the country. And what all Krishna did, you know? None of them became sannyasis. Gurukul is not a place where you are asked to move out of life. You are sharpened, prepared to move into the life. To catch your prarabdha. Understand this small story. One person had his computer loaded with various softwares. Photoshop, Windows, so many. He locked his house and went away for a trip. Came back after 2 years. Unfortunately, he forgot what all the software he has in his computer. He got his computer back, but he doesn't know what all the softwares he has downloaded. He is trying to do different activities which he can't do the software which he has already downloaded. If he is trying to do a different activity other than the softwares available, he will never be successful. He can break his head and break his computer, break his keyboard, break his hard disk, break his motherboard, break his computer table, break the house itself. But he can't be successful. You need to know, he needs to remember the softwares available in his computer. Only then he can do whatever activities he wants to. Only then he can even plan to download the softwares which he does not have. I tell you, your body is your computer. Your long trip is your death and new birth. Your softwares are prarabdha. If you don't know your prarabdha, you can neither achieve nor plan for your further future. You may be trying so many things, nothing works out. I tell you, without the knowledge of prarabdha, anything you try will never work out. Sometime it may work out like an accident, not as a fulfillment. So learning the science of the softwares available and learning to download the softwares from the internet, learning to upgrade yourself is what is usually done in Gurukuls. When you come back from the long trip, first your Guru does, making you understand your prarabdha, the softwares which already exist in your computer. Then teaching you the science of downloading new softwares required to fulfill your life. If you want to do something new, then next, upgrading your old softwares. Then finally, supporting you to fulfill your prarabdha. Just like Buddhism, in Buddhism, it is mandatory every human being goes through science of enlightenment before he enters regular life. Same way, every child should go through the science of enlightenment in Hinduism also before he enters the regular life. We need Gurukuls in every village. We need Gurukuls in every city. We need Gurukuls in every taluk, teaching the science of enlightenment, teaching the truths of enlightenment. When one has restrained the thought patterns and is free from the longing for all the desires and remains absorbed in oneself, then he is experiencing higher consciousness. Every child should go through this. Every child should go through. It is very unfortunate when people go against their prarabdha and destroy their life. If you understand these great truths in the very young age, you don't even need a master physically. Your own intuition will be so vibrant and alive. I have seen hundreds of people. Even when I tell them openly, clearly, it is your prarabdha, don't do anything against your prarabdha, their brains are out of tune. They become so arrogant and egoistic. They attract destruction towards them. When they go against the prarabdha, they see so many failures. But they continue to do the tapas to attract destruction in their life. When you put up with suffering for enlightenment, it is tapas. Sometime you put up with sufferings even to attract distractions in your life. That is what is ego. Putting up with suffering for enlightenment is tapas. Putting up with suffering to attain destruction, to get destroyed, is ego. Unfortunately, during the process, you do not know whether it is your tapas or ego. Only master can diagnose and tell you, and your ego becomes so much, you don't even listen to him. Such a simple things can be taught to kids, and so much of suffering can be avoided, removed from the life of human beings. Krishna says, even little bit of this knowledge can save humanity from sufferings. Nothing. A simple knowledge of ability to look in the gaps of the thought is enough, which can be taught maximum in 11 days for any child. Just the ability to look into the gaps of the thoughts, because in the gaps of the thoughts you will find the original emotion out of which these thoughts are raising. See, sometime you may have a thought to give up your properties, to give up your wealth, but if you look in between the gap of the thoughts, you will find out, are you feeling like giving up your wealth because of renunciation or love for the humanity, or fear of taking the responsibility of maintaining it? Are you grabbing the wealth as a sadhu, which is just basic need for your life, or are you grabbing it out of your greed, crossing the lines of aparigraha? I tell you, greed is crime. When you see between the gaps of the thoughts, you will catch the emotion from which these thoughts are raising, and you can easily make decisions whether to encourage and fulfill that thought or discourage and destroy that thought. Because many times Satan quotes Bible, Duryodhana quotes Bhagavad Gita. Many times your thoughts will justify its existence and make you believe it needs to be fulfilled by quoting the spiritual scriptures. Thought by itself will not let you understand whether it is right or wrong, good or bad. The emotions out of which the thoughts are raising needs to be analyzed for you to find out whether that thought is right or wrong or good or bad, for you to make the decision whether it needs to be encouraged, enlightened and fulfilled, or discouraged and destroyed. Many times your compassionate thoughts will be nothing but your fear moving out of your life. Many times your thoughts come with the garb of a sadhu, but filled with hypocrisy from the wrong emotions. Many times people don't want to work, not because that they don't have desire, no, but because they just want to exploit the society. They want society to give them food, clothes, shelter, everything, and press their feet also while they sleep, without sharing, giving anything back to society. Yata viniyatam chittam atmanyevavatishtate nispruhas sarvakamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tata. When one has restrained the thought patterns and is free from the longing for all desires and remains absorbed in oneself, then he is experiencing the higher consciousness. Every child should be taught this science. This should be our Gurukul syllabus, studying the emotions out of which your thoughts are raising. This will give you the ability to make the right decisions in your life. I'll call these processes Chitta Vinyata Samyama. We will have a Samyama out of this verse. 11 days Samyama, where we will teach human beings just to identify and catch the gap between the thoughts so that they realize and recognize the emotions out of which the thoughts are raising. I tell you, if your greed thoughts are raising out of fear, I challenge you will never have a fulfillment. Go behind the greed and try to fulfill. You will never have fulfillment. Because even though the thought looks like a greed, the source is fear. Unless you attend to the fear, your fulfillment of the greed is not going to let you rest in peace. Sometimes your fear comes out of greed. So you go on trying to fulfill your fear. You will never be fulfilled because the source is greed. So ability to see the gap between one thought and the other thought will make you realize the source of the thought, the source emotion out of which the thought is raising. When you recognize the source emotion out of which the thought is raising, you will know what is the actions you need to perform, what is the activity you need to perform to rest in peace. When you were able to recognize the source emotion of your thoughts and live, perform activities to complete those emotions and rest in peace, you are fulfilling your prarabdha. This is the science to be taught to every human being before the human being enters life. These are not lessons for graceful exit. These are the lessons for great entry. The lessons to reconcile with your missteps, mistakes is lessons for graceful exit. But these are not for graceful exits. Unfortunately, the lessons for great entry reaches you only when you need to exit. Most of your blessings, when they happen in your life, they call you grandma and grandpa. Blessings should enter into the human life before you give a grand entry into life, before the grand opening happens in the life. Yada viniyadam chittam atmanyevavastite nispruhas sarvagamebhyo yukta ityuchyate tata. Ability to learn to identify the gap between two thoughts, an ability to identify the source emotion from which thoughts are raising will make your chitta vinyata, means your mind disciplined. You will learn the discipline of the mind. and you will be free from greed and fear. Then you are centered in yoga. You are centered in truth. I used to do this when I was in Ramakrishna Mission in Mylapore Mutt. Early morning the milkman will come with cows. The rule in the ashram is the fresh milk has to be offered to Ramakrishna. Ramakrishna used to be very particular that no water or anything is added into the milk. He loves the Bengali sweets. So the fresh milk has to be taken and they will make payasam, porridge out of that fresh milk and some milk sweets for him and offer. Still, many of the Ramakrishna Mutts keep that tradition. Cow has to come to the ashram near the temple. If they have their own cows, great, they will bring it from the ashram near the temple and milk and directly take it to the temple shrine. Even if they don't have cows, the milkman has to bring the cow from his house. They will not accept the milk got from the cows in the house itself. No. The cow has to come. They will bring in Chennai city, Mylapore, almost 1 kilometer. The milkman, every day morning and evening, he will come with 10 cows. Holding those 10 cows, he will come from the house to the mutt behind the temple. I was serving as a kitchen bandari and shrine bandari, means the in charge of kitchen and shrine. So morning I will sit when the milkman brings his cows and starts milking. It will be almost 1 hour process. I am such an active guy, 1 hour sitting silently is a big job. And I can't meditate also because this fellow may put some water or he may not wash his hands. I have to be sitting with open eyes, with awareness what is going on. After 2-3 days I was wondering, what is this? It's like a punishment for me. Every day morning I have to sit almost 1 hour seeing this guy milking the cows. Then I started wondering why this is started. I understood 2 things. One, the ability to maintain a discipline by the Ramakrishna Mission. God. Ramakrishna has left the body 100 years before. In 1886, he left the body. Now it is already 2012. Still, they have the ability to retain the discipline, the Guru Bhakti. God. Still, this handful of sannyasis are able to retain even such a simple. It is not that Ramakrishna gave an instruction, hey, after my death, all my Ramakrishna ashrams should get the cow and the milkman and milk the milk in front of my shrine and cook and feed me. No, he has not made the rule. The love for the master. How much of discipline brings in your mind? Why? I have to sit there. I understood the other dimension. The indiscipline of this milkman. How much ever you pay him or tell him, if you allow him to milk in the house itself, he will add water due to his greed. So, milkman's indiscipline, Ramakrishna Mutt's discipline, this too was the lesson I learnt in that 1 hour. It was a big revelation for me. Because I was wondering, why should these poor cows have to walk all the way from the house to the temple, and this milkman has to come here and milk. Even when I make the payasam, I will tie a cloth around my nose. I should not smell that. Only Bhagavan should smell. I used to wonder why this guy should come all the way with the cows and milk. Why should I sit early morning 1 hour with this guy? But I always liked that smell of Goshala. Goshala has a sweet smell, that cow dung and Panchagavya smell. I always liked that smell. So finally what I realized is these two. One, the discipline which comes to you because of Guru Bhakti, the indiscipline which comes to you because of just simple indisciplined lifestyle. It is not that that milkman is greedy, because mud gives enough money for him. It is just a habit. Milk means pour water. It has become indisciplined pattern, unconscious lifestyle. Then that day, when I realized these two truths, that day when I made the payasam and offered to Ramakrishna, I prayed, Bhagavan, just bless me. I never cross the discipline of the mind. I always live with a deep discipline of mind. I tell you, he really granted that to me. Discipline of mind. Chitta viniyatam. Discipline of mind lands in you when you know how to catch the gap between two thoughts. When you can smell the source emotion out of which the thoughts raise. Nothing else matters in the life other than disciplined mind. Just yesterday, I was reading some of the reminiscences about Ramana Maharshi. What a disciplined life he lived, oh God. Being a Bhagavan, Lord himself landing on the human frame. What a disciplined life. Even his walking every day, that was his exercise. So much of discipline. At least 1 hour morning, 1 hour evening. He will not miss walking in the uphill. When I read the reminiscences, morning, when he comes out of samadhi, brushing, taking bath, preparing himself to sit for darshan and blessing the devotees, going for a walk, then having very little food, then coming back, again is darshan, then going for a walk, evening, darshan, the chanting and grazing and resting, everything was so disciplined, so regular. Whoever comes, even if the king or queen, those days even kings and queens used to come and have his darshan, he will not miss his walk. Even if the king or queen comes, they have to sit and wait. And he will not miss his time with his monkeys and pet animals. Even if the VIPs come, they have to sit and wait. He will tell them, no, this is the time for animals. Every day, he used to spend at least an hour or two. He had lot of pets, monkeys, peacocks, snakes, cheetah, rabbit, all sorts of animals. I can understand. Those days Arunachala would have been so rich. When I remember him and his life, I can never stop my overflowing emotions and devotion. I can say you may love any number of people in your life. You may marry any time in your life. You may do whatever you want. But your first love, the boy or girl who caught your heart or attention in your childhood, stays in your heart forever, even after that person changes his form or quality. Same way, my first love is Ramana Maharshi. How many masters would have entered my life? How many people would have impressed me? How many people would have given me experiences, enlightenment, spirituality, different experiences? But Bhagavan still remains as my first love. Even after you grow, your priorities change, your preferences change, your taste changes. But even then, when you search for your life partner, you will see the imprint of your first love continues to remain and influences your search. Same way, Ramana Maharshi is my first love, and any number of masters I may connect with, worship, relate, have experience, darshan, read, but he continues to remain in me, influencing, inspiring. Any master I see, the qualities I search in them is the qualities of Ramana Maharshi. Only with that scale I measure or judge, understand whether he is a master or not. If I just live like him and die, I'll feel I am fulfilled. What a discipline. What a life. I might have accepted so many sampradayas, traditions, initiations, experiences, teachings from various traditions in my life. Not only various traditions, even various religions. I had a formal initiation in Jain tradition and practiced Jainism. I had a formal initiation in Christianity. I had formal initiation in at least 50 different sampradayas. Naga, Agori, Pagul, Tantra, Vedanta, Yoga, Siddhanta. In Kashmiri Saivism, in Lagulishwara Saiva Siddhanta, and Suddhadvaita. How many? And now the Madhurayadinam, Saiva Siddhantam. But I remain in my heart as Ramakrishnite. In my heart, I am a Ramakrishnite. Ramana Maharshi is my first love. These two can never be removed or changed. Let this be on record forever. I may accept so many traditions for so many reasons and imbibe all the good things from all those traditions. But I was, I am, and I will be a Ramakrishnite, and my first love is Ramana Maharshi. It can never change. The influence both of them have on me, the inspiration both of them have given me, the energy both of them have infused in me, will remain forever. The discipline of mind I learnt from Ramana Maharshi. Chittam Viniyatam. Ramakrishna says beautifully to one of his disciples, I don't even remember whether I have cloth or not, but I never lost anything or misplace anything. You fellows losing things here and there. It comes by the discipline of mind. Viniyatam Chittam. Viniyatam Chittam is the greatest blessing. Practice this Viniyatam Chittam and have fulfillment in the life.
Paramahamsa Nityananda, a rare living incarnation, is named among the world's 100 most spiritually influential personalities today. Paramahamsa Nityananda has been placed alongside Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, Paulo Coelho and others by Mind, Body, Spirit, the world's top esoteric magazine from Watkins, London's oldest and largest bookstore. A yogi by birth, he has been expressing his power of enlightenment since birth. He has authored more than 500 books in Tamil and English. Translations of these books are available in 26 languages in Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Hindi, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Oriya, Bengali, Marathi, French, Malay, Polish, Portuguese, Italian, German, Danish, Spanish, Russian and Chinese. He is also an exemplary speaker with over 10,000 hours of profound life solutions through his discourses. Social services such as Annadan, free medical care, free educational services with ashrams, schools, temples, hospitals established in more than 140 places around the world, offering exceptional services. A powerful spiritual healer who has healed millions of people of diseases from migraine to cancer. A Kriya Yogi who has formulated Kriyas for physical health and mental well-being, benefiting thousands. A living master who offers practical solutions for our everyday problems. He is the founder and spiritual head of Nityananda Dhyanapitham, a spiritual powerhouse who has revived the sacred Vedic tradition by establishing Vedic temples in places like Los Angeles, San Jose, Seattle, Toronto, Ohio, Oklahoma, Phoenix, St. Louis, Malaysia, Brazil, Paris, Guadeloupe, Dallas, New York, New Jersey, Atlanta, Calgary, Vancouver, Singapore, and places in India like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Tiruvannamalai. A spiritual guru for 10 million followers, an incarnation who transmits the highest spiritual energy through initiation, a contemporary yogi who has revived the Vedic science of yoga worldwide through thousands of yoga centers, an adept in Ashtamahasiddhis, mystical yogic powers, who has effortlessly awakened the Kundalini of thousands and graced them with spiritual powers, a dynamic young guru who is an inspiration for thousands of youngsters, India's most watched spiritual guru online, a beacon of spiritual light who has triumphed over the forces of religious terrorism and political persecution. Paramahamsa Nityananda is an eternal Kalpataru, blessing the world with the boons of material abundance and spiritual enlightenment. He is the 293rd pontiff of the world's most ancient Hindu organization, Madurai Adinam.
Nityanandaya swagatam, anandanubhavaswadam, sarvaroga nivarakam, vande papa vinashaktam. Nityanandaya swagatam, nityamuktam nirvikalpam, dhyana loka pradipakam, vande shanti